Will the government open this upcoming week? This is getting seriously impacting the U.S. economy. What's your take?
I think it's likely to open Wednesday or Thursday of this week. The Democrats will wait until after Election Day because they think a shutdown is good for energizing the crazies in their party. But I think it'll be either late this week or early next week.
Are you going to have to give on the Obamacare subsidies?
No, the Democrats will collapse entirely.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz telling Maria Sunday he expects the Democrats to reopen the government after tomorrow's elections. If the doors stay closed in Washington for another day, this would now tie for the longest shutdown in history. President Trump is still calling on Senate Republicans to end the 60-vote filibuster rule, pass the clean funding bill with a simple majority. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is maintaining he will not negotiate during the shutdown and supports keeping the filibuster in place to block future Democratic legislation if they regain control of the upper chamber. Joining me now, Louisiana Congressman and House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Congressman, good morning to you. Here we go again, day 34. You did recently unveil some possible GOP priorities for a deal on health care. What are they?
Well, Cheryl, it's first good to be with you. And, you know, if you go back before the reconciliation bill, Republicans have been working on a number of really smart, proven ideas, all focused on lowering health care premiums. Of course, if you look at what the Democrats have done, Obamacare is the law of the land, and it's all Democrat policy. And it's been raising premiums, 80% increase in premiums for families under Obamacare. And that's even after they've masked it with hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies to insurance companies. So clearly that's failed. What we want to do is do things that can actually lower premiums for families. We had a provision called cost sharing reductions in the reconciliation bill. It passed the House. It was scored by the CBO to lower premiums by 11% on families. You would get 11% lower premium in your renewal if you're a family under our bill. Democrats are the ones who went and fought it in the Senate. They had it removed in the Senate. So Democrats have never cared about lowering premiums. But those good ideas are still out there. PBM reform is something we had passed last year. We have other ideas too, you know, pooling together health savings accounts, small businesses pooling together to lower premiums. Again, every time we've come together, all of our committees of jurisdiction, we've put ideas on the table that focus on lowering premiums, and Democrats have never wanted to be a part of that conversation, unfortunately.
It's going to be interesting to see, though, how different senators or members of the House like yourself, sir, that are going to approach these negotiations, if indeed when the government reopens, we hope very soon, because a lot of these major blue cities across the country have used the Obamacare subsidies and that federal funding to offset their own budget problems. I point to Chicago, the city of Chicago. So how do you stop that? Because at the end of the day, and we go back to what the American people asked for, which was fiscal responsibility in Washington, that you stop the bailout. Obamacare was never supposed to cost the federal taxpayer what it has ended up costing all these years later. I mean, how do you even come to terms on this?
Remember, Cheryl, they named it the Affordable Care Act. You should always watch when Democrats name something. You know, the Inflation Reduction Act, remember that under Biden? Inflation Reduction Act dramatically increased inflation. The Affordable Care Act is unaffordable health care for families. And by the way, it's broken up the doctor-patient relationship. So all these states that want more bailouts, insurance companies that are seeing record profits and want more bailouts. Interesting that the Democrat Party is the one fighting to get those bailouts to those insurance companies while families pay more in premiums. Republicans are fighting for lower premiums and to root out the waste, fraud, and abuse in these programs. Let's not forget that. There's hundreds of billions in waste, fraud, and abuse. Just the tax credits alone, the estimates are 40% of the people that have them don't even know they have them because you can get registered through very deceptive schemes. You don't even have a co-payment for people that are making $300,000, $400,000 a year. And so some of these insurance companies are registering. They don't know they have a policy, so you never file a claim. It's a really good deal for an insurance company. We've got to end this madness. You wonder why the country is going broke, and you wonder why we have so much debt. We're going to get this under control.
Well, I mean, ending the shutdown first and foremost, Congressman, and that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, the issue of SNAP payments has become front and center. You got 40 million Americans that are affected by this. That you've got 13,000 air traffic controllers that are going unpaid. You've got major airlines in this country now trying to figure out how to subsidize air traffic control, TSA workers, et cetera, because they know that they need the airports to operate, if you will. I mean, doesn't this get to a breaking point this week?
I think it does. And look, this shutdown by Democrats have caused already dramatic pain to real families, and it's going to get worse. You see the SNAP benefits. That's 42 million people that are going to be going without food because Democrats are just angry at the election of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is delivering on all the things he said he would do. The far left has gotten even more nutty. You look, they're about to elect Mondami as the mayor of New York City, an avowed socialist Marxist. That's where their party is going, and that's who Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are trying to appease. They don't care about the American people. They've said they know they're inflicting suffering on families. Democrats have said that openly, and they said they don't care. They just want leverage. They can't say what they want leverage for. That's really the worst part of this. They're hurting families knowingly, and Democrats still want to keep this going. I don't think it's sustainable because the American people have figured it out. They're disgusted by it. The unions, more and more every day, every union in America is saying, Democrats, end this madness, end the shutdown, and then go negotiate with Republicans on things you disagree on. But stop holding the American people hostage in the meantime. Well,
and I'm glad you brought up, with that election, again, issue that, what Senator Cruz says, after the election, you watch that there's going to be movement. 8.3% of the budget of New York City is federal funding. So that's why this mayor's race is being watched so closely. There is a major issue this week for President Trump's trade agenda. I want to ask you about this. The Supreme Court is going to be hearing oral arguments Wednesday over the president's emergency tariff authority. Now, he confirms he's not going to attend that hearing, Congressman. What are your thoughts on this, and what do you expect to hear from SCOTUS on Wednesday?
Well, whether or not the president is going to be allowed under the Supreme Court, we can't predict. It's everybody that tries to predict the Supreme Court, they're about right maybe 50% of the time on a good day. I think if you look at what the president has done with tariffs, it's helped America get better deals overall and be treated fairly. I mean, there are a lot of countries, friend and foe alike, who have not treated America fairly in trade deals. China's been the worst offender because they manipulate their currency. They do a lot of other things, steal intellectual property. But even our friendly nations have had the same kind of problems. And so what President Trump has done with tariffs so far is open up markets. A lot more American goods are available now in other countries because of these tariffs. And then we're ultimately getting to a stabilized, I think, level where you're seeing, look at Asia. I mean, it wasn't just China. China was massive, not only for what it meant for critical minerals, what it meant for our farmers, for soybeans, the fentanyl agreement. But there were other Asian nations, too, that he got deals with. And he's working on European deals to get better deals, Canada, Mexico. So this president doesn't rest. He's amazing at how much he delivers for the American people. Oh, and by the way, he's working on global peace in the Middle East and in Ukraine and Russia. That's what President Trump does. He delivers on what he said he would do. And sadly, the left is going nuts because of that. They don't want to celebrate success for America. And the rest of the country is watching in disbelief at the meltdown of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, no, it's such an incredible change from what we saw under 4 years of President Biden. Just in the amount of news.
The auto pen making all the decisions, pardoning people, and Biden didn't even know what was going on, for goodness sake. This president's in the middle of some major things that are good for this country and good for the world globally.
Yeah, it really is incredible. Congressman Steve Scalise, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me, Cheryl.
All right, another big week in Washington. Congressman Steve Scalise. We will be right back, everybody.